over the course of like a year and a half or 2 years, I got so stressed, and I wasn't finishing books. I was, missing deadlines. I was having to cancel pre-orders. It was a lot. This is the story of how I gave up being an author forever. Like forever. Like, if you know me, you know that I wrote like 20 books in the span of like 2 years or 3 years or whatever it was, and then I gave up forever. I was done. I was over it. Basically, whenever I was starting my career, I was successful in all of the ways that really mattered to people, that really mattered to me. I was making like $50,000 a year. Whenever I first started publishing romance books, everything was going really well. And then after like 6 months of publishing these books, I felt like I was under so much pressure to put out these perfect books and to always have the next hot thing, because when this series took off, it was doing really well and people loved it. I mean, some people hated it, but you can't please anybody, whatever. I didn't care about that, but I felt like I needed to have the next perfect thing to please the people who did like it, to please my readers, and to fix the issues that people had with the first book. And it was so much pressure that over the course of like a year and a half or 2 years, I got so stressed, and I wasn't finishing books. I was, missing deadlines. I was having to cancel pre-orders. It was a lot. It got to the point where I was no longer making money because I was so stressed about even just getting the next book written. And I wasn't confident in marketing because I was wondering, if I push this book out, are people going to be mad because it's not done yet? And like this book that came out 2 years ago, I'm going to push that one, and then people are going to be mad because where's the new book? Where's the next one? And so I couldn't handle this pressure. And so I wasn't pushing my books. I wasn't selling anymore because it was all just grinding on me, and it felt bad. Everything about it felt really bad. Then my computer died. I had a 2018 MacBook Pro that I bought brand new. I had been making money finally, and I bought a computer that functioned, and in 2022, it died. I was already stressed. I wasn't making money. I was in the middle of trying to write yet another book that I just didn't really feel like writing. I had no motivation for it. I didn't care about it, and I couldn't do it anymore. So in 2022, I just kind of gave up. I lost all of my hope, and I posted on Facebook and on all my social media channels that I was done writing. I had published 20-ish books as Alexis Pierce, and I decided I was done because I couldn't handle it anymore. It was a lot. And if you were an author at this time, then you might know that there was a lot of tension in the community because Amazon had a bunch of people that they were allowing to buy books and then return them all at once, and people were losing money on all of this, and it was just a nightmare. And so, like many others, I gave up, and I didn't know what to do. I was tired, I was done, I was over it. I, as it turns out, needed money to survive or whatever. So one of my friends, she's a fairly successful author, and she was like, I have this TikTok account for my pen name, and I just need posts to go up every day. So if I get you like an okay pre-owned refurbished computer, would you post on this account for me so that there's posts on there every day? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I have no idea what I'm doing with TikTok, but I started posting for her, and then she asked if I would post for one of her friends, and I was really unsure about it because I didn't want to do all of this again. I didn't want to take on clients and worry about disappointing people, but I was like, you know what? Sure, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about TikTok though. So I started this massive side hustle on accident, but it was book world adjacent, which is what matters. It was book world adjacent. And so while I was doing these, I was not having to do a lot of work. I was only working like 10 or 15 minutes a day. I didn't have to do a ton, and I had a computer that functioned once again. So I started writing this book. I decided, I was like, this is just for fun. I just kind of got inspired, and I sat and I busted this book out in like 4 or 5 days. It's this one right here, because whenever I was publishing my earlier series, I was like, I want to write some like weird, kind of messed up stuff. Why not? Whatever. Just to try stuff out. I wanted to avoid writing that kind of stuff with my original series because I was trying to please everybody. And then I was like, no, screw it. On this series, I'm just going to do whatever I want. And I did. And that series it's made me a little bit of money. Not a lot, but basically it got me to start writing again and start feeling more confidence in my own books and in my own work. But let's kind of take a step back, look at where I was, what I did wrong, and how I kind of got the confidence back to keep writing, but also to realize that I didn't have to write everything everyone else wanted me to do, and I didn't have to care what everybody else thought, because that's kind of the crux of this whole thing, is that I stopped caring what other people thought of me, what other people thought I should do with my career. Before I gave up writing forever, I started getting into this whole like manifestation and abundance mindset. You might know it as lucky girl syndrome. It's really popular on TikTok as that. And the basic idea of it is convincing yourself that you have everything you could ever want, and nobody can take it away from you, and you're gonna have everything you want forever. That's like the basic idea of it. And psychologically, this idea is basically tricking your brain into saying that you have these things and you deserve to have them, which is important because a lot of people deep down don't really feel like they deserve any sort of success. They don't deserve the nice things that they want. And I think that's where I was in my career. I didn't feel like I deserved financial stability. I didn't feel like I deserved to write the types of books I wanted to write. I didn't feel like I had a say in my own life. So I started that journey with my friend who believed in me, and we would kind of update each other and do fun little manifestation exercises. Like I would Photoshop a picture of myself on a private jet or whatever. Just for fun, we would just text these to each other to be like, look at my rich life. And I got a lot of my confidence back that way. And I started to realize that people don't actually give a shit about me. I don't mean that in a way of like, oh, who cares about her? She sucks, whatever. I realized that nobody is taking a microscope to my life. Nobody's taking a microscope to my books. And the type of people that are doing these things and that get obsessed over how bad everything I do is, those people aren't worth my time. Those people suck. If they're going to be jerks about everything, why would I take their advice if they're just going to treat me like garbage? I started that journey of more confidence in myself and started to see that I didn't have to do everything perfectly. I didn't have to do everything the way that other people wanted me to do things. What mattered was what I wanted to do and how I wanted to run my career. So while I was doing this whole mindset, I started posting my own videos and my own TikToks as well about my books. And I went from, my low point where my books were making like $200 a month, which considering I had 20 books out was very much not a lot of money. And I went to the point where I was making like $5,000 a month, and it was almost instantly. It was super quick because I just told myself like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think about this content. It doesn't matter how other people look at it. What matters is that it happens. It goes up, is that I do the thing. That's the only thing that matters. And it just matters for me. It matters for me doing my video analytics because I can't do analytics on an account with 0 videos. It matters for my word count, because I can't have a book that I enjoyed writing, that I like reading as well, if I don't have any words on the page. I can think about that book as much as I want to, but if I don't get the words on the page, then I don't get to read it. And I want to write books that I want to read. So basically, I started doing these things for me, for my enjoyment, for myself, because I was really done taking what other people said about me and my career seriously, because it's not them, it's not their life, it's not these other people who are affected by the decisions that I make. I'm the only one whose life is really affected by the decisions that I make. Well, other than like my family, who I have to feed and house. So rather than trying to take all of these other people's opinions and advice and whatever, I was just like, I'm done. I'm done with everything you think that I need to be doing, and I'm going to do things my way. I'm going to be really picky about my clients, and I no longer take clients, which is amazing because I have my TikTok for Authors course, and then I have my book marketing course, and I have a social media marketing automation course, and I have all sorts of stuff. So those basically run themselves, and the only thing I have to do is mention them once in a while, and then I can spend all of my time reading books and writing books. I don't have to spend all of this time wondering what matters to other people and what about my career needs to appeal to other people. I didn't have to make myself more palpable to others. However, on the flip side of things, that also means that I had to accept that I wasn't going to be everybody's best friend all the time. And this was one of the hardest things for me because I used to be that type of person who's like, I need to be everybody's best friend all the time. And it was so exhausting to just like make myself smaller, make myself more enjoyable, all of this stuff, because I strive to be a nice and kind person and I strive to help other people when I can. It got to the point where it was exhausting trying to force a smile on my face to people who were disrespecting me and to people who were disrespecting my business. So I stopped doing that. If somebody would come up to me, and this has happened at book events, and they'd be like,
hey, I think your whole business model is bullshit and you should be ashamed of everything that you do,
I'd be like, okay, so why are you talking to me? Like, why should I take your opinion? You're not a customer of mine, for one. If you were, I would drop you as a client, because if you're treating me like this, I don't want you around. And if you're giving me this opinion and you're also not paying me very, very heavily for this opinion, then you don't deserve my time. I think that something that we need to realize, especially as women in any space, we need to think about how much of ourselves we take away trying to please other people and make ourselves more pleasant to be around. Because again, yes, I like being nice, I like being friendly, I like making friends, but if somebody's gonna treat me like shit, then I'm just going to give them the same energy back that they're going to give me, because there's no reason for me to take their crap. There's no reason for me to, for example, whenever I was writing these books, for somebody to message me and be like,
hey, I didn't like your main character because she had these characteristics and she should have had these characteristics.
And then me be like, okay, well, what do I do now? So I guess I should write a main character with the characteristics they want, even though that's not what I wanted to write. That's not what I enjoy writing. Whenever I started listening to others and absorbing them telling me these are the types of characters I should write about, then I was losing myself. I was losing my own voice in my book. And my books with the least sales are those types of books. It burned me out so quickly that like I said, I gave up on writing forever and ever. Funny how that forever and ever turned out to be about 2 months before I finally was able to get back to the joy of writing. And while I stopped putting myself into positions where other people could take from me and where they could take pieces of me until I felt like I was just giving everything away, I got to a point where I was also no longer afraid to put myself out there, but in a way that didn't let others take from me, because I realized that I'd gotten to this point where I was secluding myself and I wasn't letting people near me. I wasn't really, making friends, because it was just so exhausting of me to help every single person who came up and begged for my help and for my attention, especially because these people were expecting this help and all of this advice for free, and then they weren't taking and doing anything with it. And so kind of realizing where I was on my journey and realizing I also need to make sure that I'm not sacrificing who I am and what matters to me in what I'm doing and what I'm running and the books that I'm writing. And I also needed to make sure that if people were coming up and just demanding everything from me and demanding all of my attention, I could say, hey, I don't have the energy for this right now. Here are some resources for you. Have fun. I believe in you. So while I started giving less of myself to others, I also stopped being afraid of inviting other people into my space, because I knew that I could set boundaries for my time, for my energy, and for the work that I was doing. So doing all of this, I also realized where my true passion lied, because I have tried being a career artist, I have tried being a career author, and trying to do these things in a way that makes sense for other people, and that means that I'm having to push my books out and get some sort of feedback on my books, meant that I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. But I realized that whenever I would give advice and people would actually take the advice and tell me, oh my God, thank you so much, your advice helped me, that was where my real passion was. So that was whenever I started creating my courses, because then I could put it out for a lot more people at a time, and a lot more people were getting access to it. And I also made sure to keep them fairly affordable. I tried the expensive rich bitch course creator type thing where it was several $100s, and I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like how people would just tell me, oh, well, I can't access this because there's no way I can afford it. And I would say, all right, that's fine. I guess. But basically, I brought the prices back down, made it a lot more affordable for people, made it more accessible, because what matters to me is whenever people message me and say, hey, I took your course and I made $60,000 this month, or hey, I took your course and my book just hit number 70 on all of Amazon, which is ridiculously high because of one TikTok that went viral. So basically, I saw that I had a way that I could actually put out advice and tell people, here is what I do and here's what's working for a lot of other people, and they would take that advice and they would run with it. And I didn't have to give as much of myself to each individual person, and a lot more people were getting a lot more help from me than I could have done individually. And if you either want to start self-publishing your books for the first time ever, or you want to set up a system for marketing books that you already have so that it's all passive income, check out my link. I have everything for you at aligndigital.com. So that's pretty much my story of how I gave up on writing forever and ever and ever, aka 2 months, and ended up a lot better for it and became a better author, a better marketer, a better wife, a better mother. And not only am I doing better financially and emotionally, but I feel a lot more fulfilled as a person because I'm doing the things I want to do in a way that works for me. And whether this is just writing the types of books that I want to write, or if it's having a better system for passive income, or having systems in place so that I don't have to do everything constantly. All of these things combined just make it so much easier to be who I want to be, to write the books I want to write, when I want to write them, and to stop giving parts of myself to other people who would simply take those parts and smash them to bits or refuse to accept them whenever they demanded them in the first place. So just remember, you don't have to please everybody. You just have to make sure that you are working in a direction that you want to go that works for you, because trying to please everyone is just going to burn you out. It's going to make you, I don't know, for example, quit publishing books forever and ever.